This program is brought to you by Connie Doto of Connie Doto Realty Group, 119 Pleasant Street, Methuen. When you want results, don't make a move without us.
I'd like to welcome you to the Doto Real Estate View, and I'd like to thank the viewers for your input in the shows that we have been putting on over the past year. One of the topics that people have asked for is pest. Not pest and people pest, but the pests that are sometimes in our homes. And we have an expert here who's one of the owners of Pest End. It's Adam Karachi from Pest End.
How you doing, Connie?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
How long has your family been in business? It's been...
We've been in business for about 25 years now. We have 3 locations, one right here in Methuen, and then we also have one in Plastown, New Hampshire, and Derry, New Hampshire. We service from south of Boston up through the Concord area.
Great, great. I know a lot of people, when they have home inspections, which we had on last month, they also have a pest inspection. Maybe if you could walk through what things that your okay, should I just keep going? What? I can't hear you. Oh, sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
What would you call them?
Technicians?
Technicians, thank you. That's what I was looking, it's like, oh my God. Say it go off being passed, so we'll just go through that and we'll talk about different things. It's good just to understand what it's about.
Yeah. It's a good way to start.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I'd like to welcome you to Doto Real Estate View, and I'd like to thank the viewers for your input in the shows that we have on the air for this coming year. One is talking about pests in your home. And we have an expert here, Adam Karachi, who's with Pest End. And Pest End has been around for a good 20 plus years. I welcome you, Adam.
All right, thank you, Connie. Yeah, my family's owned Pest End for about 25 years now. We have a location right here in Methuen, Mass. We also have one in Plastown, New Hampshire, and Derry, New Hampshire. We service from south of Boston up through Concord, New Hampshire, and all the surrounding areas for all general types of pest control.
Yeah. A lot of people ask, what is it that one of your technicians would do when they go in to look for pests in homes?
For a general inspection, it kind of depends. We have a lot of people who call us looking for a specific thing. They hear a noise in the wall or they've seen ants, and each inspection's a little bit different. You know, for mice, we look in kitchens, bathrooms, basement, attic. Ants are a little bit similar, but usually don't make it all the way up to the attic. So it really depends on the specific thing that they're looking for. We try to ask the customer a lot of questions even before we go out there to try and pinpoint exactly the problem that they're having before, so we can give them the best answer and maybe even save them from going out and having to inspect and just being able to set up a job right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. If somebody was having, as we had last month, we had home inspections. We had an expert on doing home inspections. A lot of times people will call to have a pest inspection done. So maybe if you could walk through the steps of when you go in to do a pest inspection for a person that's purchasing a home.
Yeah, one of the biggest things when you're purchasing a home is wood-destroying insects. You want to know about termites, carpenter ants, powder post beetles. These are the things that are going to affect the structure of the home. So when we go in, we start by checking right in the basement, check to see if the sills are still sound, if there's any type of damage, and depending on what that is, we can then recommend some type of treatment being done. There's a lot of things that, with termites, they have mud tubes that you can find on the outside of the house or in the basement. Those are key signs that you have a problem that's current right now, and you need to have that taken care of because they're infesting your home. It's the same thing with carpenter ants. You want to look to see if you can actually see any of them or any of the damage. A lot of times, once a home has already been infested with a problem, you're more likely to get that back. So if you have termites or you've had them within the past few years, they're more likely to come back to that home. So even if we may not see something active, but we see the damage, we still recommend something for that reason. At the same time, when we're doing a home inspection, we're checking for anything else. Are there any mouse droppings? Are there any bees around? Because the new owner wants to know this. They want to know what they're having for a problem before they go and buy that house, because they want to know what they're walking into. So, we start, like I said, in the basement, looking around at everything, making sure everything's sound, and then we just methodically go through the home, checking the first floor, the second floor, the attic area, and then we'll also do the outside, make sure there's no holes from squirrels or anything like that that have made their way in. That could be a problem later on when you're in the home.
Let's talk a bit about termites. I mean, that's a concern. A lot of homeowners don't even know they have it. Once we have a home inspection, it surfaces. Maybe talk a bit about when you check the beams and what's the course of treatment, what's the best course of treatment. I know there's a couple out there, but...
Yeah, there is a couple out there. We use the Centricon termite colony elimination system. We put bait tubes on the outside of the house. They go every about 3 to 5 feet apart. They're a green tube that's about 6 inches long that we put right into the ground so you don't really see them. And there's actually bait on there that termites are attracted to. So they feed on those tubes, and what happens is, as they're feeding on it, they're dying, but not right away, so the termites don't realize that that's the source that's killing them, because, believe it or not, termites are smart enough to know that if there's an area that they're going to that's killing them, they'll avoid it. So to find out if you have them, like you said, it's very difficult with termites to find out, because they're not like ants where they just come out and start walking around. The only ways you ever find out about termites is in the spring. They have a swarm when they're trying to mate, and you'll see hundreds upon hundreds of little black things flying around in a certain area. It almost looks like a cloud. That's a termite swarm. You find out that way, and all the wings fall off, which is different from a carpenter ant, where the carpenter ant actually keeps the wings. So if you see a lot of wings on the ground, that's a termite. Other than that, the only time you ever find out is either if you're doing construction or you have that home inspection or that pest inspection, and you have someone coming out. We always have a big screwdriver that we start poking the beams with. And
that ugly stick.
Yeah, that ugly stick that we poke the beams with, and if it goes through, there's damage, and we then at that point pinpoint, okay, is it ants, is it termites, powder post beetles, and we kind of go on from that point. The biggest reason why termites are the biggest deal during an inspection is because they're not cheap to take care of. An ant job might run you a couple $100s, where a termite job in most cases is close to $1,000. So that makes a big difference when you're deciding on buying a home. You got to know that up front, because that's an extra cost that you may have to incur or have the seller pay for before that's done.
And also, in addition to that, some of the beams. You may have to replace some of the beams, depending on...
I mean, termites are relatively slow in their working, but as I said, you don't necessarily know when you have them. So, and before a termite swarm happens, it's 3 to 5 years. So if you do see a termite swarm, they've been in your house for 3 to 5 years before that point has happened, and they could have done a good amount of damage. Especially there's certain areas that have higher populations, and you can have more than one colony at your home, and your home's being attacked on multiple sides, and that's when you can get into that problem with the structure.
I'm going to talk about area on a different level. From what I've heard the real truth on it, and some say it's not true, that there are certain areas, say in the Merrimack Valley, that are profound to termites in homes. So
we found that to be true. There are certain areas, and it's not even just towns. There may be certain areas of towns that are just loaded with termites. Why? I don't know. The ground is good for them at that point. I mean, it's not necessarily to say a wooded area is more, because a termite doesn't know the difference between a tree and your house. So they don't need a forest to thrive. They can thrive on any piece of wood, and it doesn't matter what that is. So you can have, a street that's really built up and doesn't have a tree on it that happens to have a lot, and go to an area that's right near a town forest and there'd be nothing. So it's kind of hit or miss, but there is truth to the fact that there are areas that we've found have a higher population of termites. A lot of stuff we see is that, we'll have someone call, set up a job, and within 5 years we'll have 5 or 6 more people call from that exact street saying, we have termites, we found termites, can you come give us a price? And that's, you pinpoint those areas, and it does make a difference. So if you know that your neighbor has a problem or has had a problem, it's something that you may want to have inspected, because there's a good chance that you have them at that point.
Again, I know it's seasonal on certain things. Typically, when would you be able to identify if there are active termites and treatment of it?
We can treat anytime when the ground's not frozen. The swarmers that I was talking about is in the spring, sometime between April and May, right when it really starts to get that little warm burst, they come fluttering out. Other than that, they are awake anytime from the first time it starts to get warm all the way through the summer. I know this winter's been exceptionally warm. They're still hibernating, but if they're in your home, it's warm enough where they may still be awake at this point, not fully in hibernation, because it just hasn't really been that cold. So it kind of depends, but with termites it is seasonal. You're really only going to find them or have a problem that you'll notice unless it's the damage. You can find the damage all year, but with the actual insect itself, pretty much from the beginning of April through the end of September is really the key points for them.
Do you do much treatment on fleas?
We do. We've had a big surge in fleas recently, and we think it may have something to do with the treatment to pets not being as effective as it has been, because fleas actually have learned to become immune to that. So the past 2 to 3 years there's been a much higher increase in fleas, and that is due to the fact of your pet goes outside, it gets them, or it goes to a kennel or a daycare that they now have. They have a lot of daycares, and someone has fleas there, and you get them brought back. So we do have a lot of treatments with fleas, and they're a pain to take care of. They like to bite you, and they're a hassle for the customer, and they embed themselves into carpets, any type of fabric, so you have to make sure you get all the floor surfaces. And we recommend that the pet actually go to the vet the day of our service, so the pet is being treated by the vet while we are also treating the home to make sure we take care of everything at once.
How do you treat it in the home?
We have a liquid chemical. It is a pesticide. People have to be out, people and pets, for about 2 hours, and we treat every floor surface up to 6 inches up, meaning the bottom of couches, bed skirts, bottom of curtains that touch the floor. We treat every single floor surface, paying more attention to carpeted areas more so than linoleum or tile, which they're not really going to live in those areas. If there's things like a dog bed that can't be treated, we just have that washed in really hot water and then also dried if at all possible. If they can't, we usually recommend that they replace it, just because they're on that dog or that cat, they're going to be in the bed, and that's just going to be something that's difficult to take care of.
What kind of services does your company, I know we went through some of the process of what you would provide when you do an inspection for a home buyer, but other services that...
We take care of all general pests, whether it's ants, bees, spiders, fleas. If you have it, we pretty much will take care of it. We don't go too much into wildlife. We do trap for squirrels, but we don't go into raccoons or anything like that. But any type of mice, even rats, we take care of those. And then the big topic recently, which I know we'll talk about more later, is bed bugs. So just pretty much any type of pest you may have, most of the time we'll either take care of it or have a resolution for you to take care of it, because not everything needs a pesticide.
Good segue into that. What we're going to do is take a brief break here, and we're going to have our next discussion, the other half of this program, on bed bugs. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you.
Today, we gather to recognize the selfless decision of one of the most influential women of our time. The woman who, after having one too many drinks, chose not to drive home buzzed. Here today to honor Rachel is the family whose lives she spared.
Welcome back to the second half of Doto Real Estate View. We're talking about pest, and we're talking about bed bugs for the second half, and we have two special guests here. We have Rascal, who is our bed bug dog, right, Adam?
That's correct.
And we have Courtney here, who's one of the handlers with Rascal. Maybe if you just want to go through the example of what we're going to do with how he detects.
Yeah, right now we have a little vial placed out in this chair that has live bed bugs in it. And Courtney's just going to bring him around the chair, let him sniff it. He's going to find it, and it will show you what we actually do in a real-life experience with bed bugs in a house and how he helps us detect if there's any problems or not. Right now she's getting him a little excited. Now he's going to start working this chair. Very thorough in his inspection. He's scratching in the corner of the chair right now, which is what he does for an alert.
Wow.
So he did pick up on that scent, scratch right in the corner. Once he does that, she says "good boy," which is a key word to let him know that he found his problem. And that's how we figure out in an apartment, a house, anything like that, if there is any bed bugs. And he only detects live bed bugs or viable eggs. So we also bring him through after treatments to make sure that the problem has been completely eliminated.
I mean, it's fascinating how quickly he identified it. Obviously, a lot of training goes into this. How do you go about training him for that?
We went down to Florida. There's a school called J&K Canine Academy down in Florida where they train these dogs, not only on bed bugs, but they have ones for termites. They're actually in the process of training them on how to detect cancer in people. So dogs just have a great nose and a great sense to be able to find out any type of problems as long as there's a scent. So we had to go down, train with them and with Rascal for a week. Now every day we have to put out hides just like that on top of our jobs to make sure he's keeping up on it. And we do occasionally put